Namaste. Welcome. So for today's lecture and tutorial, let me share with you how as a beginner we could develop a progressive, safe and meaningful yoga home practice. Home practice is really one of the most beneficial ways for us to develop total health and wellness. It's meditated because you're doing it alone. You can work your own pace, your own time, your own breath. And later on, yoga home practice is one of the most effective ways for us to feel the subtleness of our energy. And that includes the Mandalas and the Kundalini energy later on. Really up to you how far you want to take your practice later on. But let me just discuss the beginning stage of the practice, which is approximately about 1 year. And then after 1 year, you will find your own. You will develop your own already. But the first year is very important, especially if your choice of method is the Hatha Yoga, where you combine the physical movement and the breath exercises later on as well, because there's a huge risk of hurting yourself if you don't work progressively. So if you're lucky to be getting some tips outside by attending classes, yes, apply those principles your teachers teach you at home. But when you do classes, you just solely depend on the classes. Most of the time, the classes are very random in nature. The elements are very random. But I really encourage you to work your body progressively. And that's the benefit of home practice. They can just work on specific elements. I truly believe that our development, not just physically, our emotional development, the clarity of the mind, as well as later on the spiritual development, is very related to how our hips, this part of our body, and the spine develop later on. And as they develop these two important elements of the practice, the breath will start to flow. Right. So the first year of the practice, you just wanted to focus on this, the hips. And even the hips would have to be tackled progressively by stages as well. On top of developing the hips, we also would have to develop the foundational energetic element, which is the breath. Not really the breath regulation. What I mean when I say the breath, just the general principles of breathing. So how do we now synchronize our body movement when we breathe? Or vice versa. So when we breathe, certain movements happen as well. So these two rudimentary elements, the foundation, fundamentals, mobility and movement of the hips. Of course, the whole of your body moves in the process, but we're going to focus more on the hips first for you, and general breath pattern. One method which is very traditional is always accessible for us, and there's many tutorials about this. It's called the sun salutations or the Surya Namaskar. And then when you do your sun salutations, because it's simple, it promotes mobility, it promotes the whole body itself, not just the hips, because you're stepping forward, you're doing an extension, you're folding forward, somehow the hips and the spine becomes energized. So they become energized in the process. But still, on the basic level. So the first year you just wanted to break free from the rigidity of the physical body, because the physical body is naturally tight, especially around the hips. So when you're able to build confidence moving the body together with the breath, you're going to feel light later on, lighter later on. So the first 3 months, I would recommend you just do the sun salutations. And then you will be surprised. Although very simple, sun salutations could be challenging. Why? For example, not every one of us would be able to step, for example, from the downward dog, like this. Pardon my space, very small. From the downward facing dog. You will be surprised that maybe the first week you can just step very tiny, and then you have to inch your foot all the way forward with the hand. And then you'll be surprised. 1 week, you'll be able to step a little bit bigger The following week, a little bit bigger, so on and so forth, until you're able now to step that foot all the way forward in one go. Yeah? And that is already a manifestation of your hips, yeah? Becoming open. Yeah. And that is really very important, yeah, because the hips, the mobility of the hips and the strength of the hips is very important, because the hips are the foundation of our spine. If the hips are weak, if the hips are not stable, if the hips are not able to move as required in a certain element later on, it might cause problems, because you might hurt yourself, because when the hips are unstable, what happens, the spine won't be able to extend, the spine won't be able to move as big, and then there's a big chance of you hurting your knees and hurting the joints of your legs, even or you might even fall, because you have to have the stability of the hips to hold some standing positions later on to practice. Right? So sun salutation is a really good way. All right, now that would be a first 3 months of the practice. Don't rush. You're practicing at home. Yeah, so most sun salutations could be like 10 minutes. Yeah, really up to you. I would recommend maybe 15 minutes, including your centering. Centering is when you just allow the body to just feel it before you start. Just breathe your normal pattern, maybe 3 minutes of inhaling and exhaling, all right, and then some forms of gentle warming while you're sitting or lying down before you begin your sun salutation. So you can jump straight to the sun salutations. Anyway, it's already a good warming up process. But be very careful, especially if you have like tight spots. Yeah, so move progressively. About 15 minutes every day. Yeah, so morning if you have the time, or any time of the day if you have the availability. All right. Now, when you're able now to feel your hips can move lightly, and then you can confidently breathe with the movement, like, oh, this feels natural for me to exhale when I fall forward. Oh, this feels natural for me to inhale when I rise to stand. So that's an indication now of you're able to organically, without you thinking it, when to inhale and exhale. Because that will be very important later on. Yeah, so you don't want to miss that stage. Right? So this is when actually home practice becomes very helpful, because sometimes when we do classes outside, I teach classes too, because we move as a group, and then some of us are shallow breather, some of us are deep breathers. So it really depends on the nature of the person. Yeah, so because you don't want to be just standing up for the sake of standing up, so you have to breathe through the process. Yeah, so that's also one important factor, because if you just stand up and down, and then step forward and back without breathing, all right, that's another dangerous part, because you might hurt yourself because the breath would have to flow as you move. Yeah, for safety as well. All right, so that would be like within the first 3 months of your practice, and then definitely you will feel lighter. That when the lightness and the confidence of breathing through the sun salutations become light, now you are now ready to explore strengthening components. And then when we do the strengthening components, we still focus on the basic, still focus on the hips and lower limbs. And this is when the elements of standing poses will enter the spectrum or the program. Standing poses are simple in nature. Yeah, there are many modifications if a certain position is too intense for your low back. You can shorten the range of motion. If you're doing leg balancing a really good way for us to develop core strength and stability and strength of our hips and the rest of our legs as well. If standing on one leg is quite challenging, you can use the wall. There are many modifications. Yeah, but progressively, like the first stage, you will become better. You will develop that strength organically, inherently. There's no way but to go there. That's how we develop. And of course, since you're practicing at home, you can pinpoint, oh, this this side of me is a bit tighter. I can't extend this leg as much as the other leg. And so now you become aware now of your own structure as a practitioner. And that is very important, because later on, as your bandhas become developed, especially as your energy become more, I would say, dominant, or as your energy starts to manifest, this brings me to the topic of the Ida and Pingala. And because the left and right channel of the body will have to be open, not really perfectly balanced, but they need to open for the energy to flow through those important nadis or energy channels. But yeah, don't worry about them yet. Yes, you're still building the foundation. But I'm just giving you an overview of the future. Now, standing positions are a good way for us as well, of course, to build the strength of our legs, our thighs, promote our mobility and flexibility of our knees, including our feet. Because later on you can be needing the flexibility and stability of the joints for some deeper elements later on. But you're still building the foundation. It's really the foundation that's very important. If the foundation is weak, even how flexible you are, even how, for example, even how strong the upper back is, even how stable you can do arm balances, if your foundation, if the hips are not aware, if the hips are not stable, your practice will fall apart later on. Because later on in the practice, you will be needing subtleness. You don't want to be forcing the elements to happen. You have to breathe through it. And unless the hips are open, the energy will not be able to flow, because the energy is trapped here. All right, going back. Now, when the leg balancing, when the standing positions become light, now your body will tell you, your spine will tell you, your hips will tell you, oh, this is enjoyable. Now I can stand on one leg a bit longer than many months ago. Now I can do my sun salutations confidently. Now it becomes like less of a chore, but you look forward to the session. So now your spirit become a little bit more motivated. So you develop now that inspiration to practice, because you're developing. So practicing at home is like witnessing your own development. It's really very meaningful, I tell you. And you will notice changes in the body, physically first, external structure, and there's nothing wrong with celebrating the gift of the energy. And in the beginning stages of the practice, that gift manifests in the body. And so you will feel strong, you will feel more supple, the confidence is high. So there's really nothing wrong about that. So it's part of the process of our development. Now, when the leg position, or when the standing positions and leg balancing become light, now you're now ready to explore dynamism. Right? So when we promote the inherent nature of our hips to move with precision, dynamic movements, active movements. So this is now where the elements of active hip openers will come into the picture. All right. So active hip openers, for me, when I was starting, I didn't really do complex ones. I just focused on one active movement and one static movement, but they form part of this cluster of promoting dynamism of our hips. One is the jumping forward, either to stand, jumping forward to the sit, or if those movements are still too heavy for you, you can just perform the sit-throughs, without really jumping. So, for example, I've posted many tutorials about jumping transitions, so you might want to take a look at that. Yeah, but just to give you a nutshell, for example. All right, from the downward dog. All right, so you're gonna just cross one knee, you may sit, and from there you cross the other knee. Or you can hover forward, that, and then hover forward, and then you sit. So those are examples of you promoting dynamism of your hips. Still basic. Still basic. Aside from active hip openers like that, so you might want to do as well sitting or static hip openers. And my favorite when I was doing it, I would do a combination of, like, for example, there's a combination of both hip openers and a twist. All right, so when you're crossing one heel top like this, and you just twist. So for example, after you do your float, right? So crossing, and then you sit, and then from there, just to release the heaviness, you might do a sitting twist, or you may bind the arm around the Ardha Machandrasana. All right. Or if this is still too intense, you can just cross like that. But definitely, as your body becomes developed, you will find the elements externally. They do, oh, I can't do that. But you will be surprised. Your body will just find it there, yeah, organically. Or, for example, if you're not ready for the deep twist, you can just do this. You cross. If the arm can bind around, you can reach for the foot behind you. Otherwise, break the tight spot or break the heaviness of the active transitions, because if you're doing active ones, the shoulders get really energized, and how you get a loosen a bit. Yeah, so in between those active movements, yeah, break the flow by doing some static hip openings and a combination of twists or even full bend. Yeah, so my favorite are this. I do Ardha Machandrasana with or without the bind, and later on you're going to do the Bharadvajasana. So this is really a very, I would say, meaningful, effective way of going higher, because your aim now is to go higher and higher. Yes, so twist and active movements promote this part of our spine, yeah, the Uddiyana Bandha. Yeah, it builds organic core strength, but still the basic level. All right. Now, so the program now will look like this. So you're going to do your sun salutation, right? And after that, you're going to you will be practicing your standing. And after standing, your active ones, yeah, just similar to what this will take about 6-9 months of the practice. But you are so confident and very efficient now with your sun salutations that sometimes it becomes a bit boring already. You know, because sun salutations, it's very structured, up, down, downward dog, forward, chaturanga, and stuff like that. And somehow your body will be needing the need to explore other forms of warming up, other forms of movement. Yeah. And this is, together with your active hip openers, together with your jumping and standing, you may want to try to explore now the elements of mandalas. Mandalas mean circle. So circular movements. So you will feel now that when you're holding a standing position, my body would like to move. Somehow I need to release my arms. I need to readjust my body. And it's a really meaningful manifestation already of your energy making its presence felt. All right. So this is this stage, the third trimester, is really very important, because this is when the energy initially manifests. Yeah. So somehow when you're holding a standing position, I feel like I wanted to move. I wanted to go and do some and perform some movement without actually me changing position. So this is when arm circles. Yeah. So I've posted many tutorials about mandalas as well, so you may want to take a look at them as well. And now you're now able to combine, or you are now flowing within a certain element. And then you're combining now the element of circles, mandalas. So when you warm up now, you might now be able to find your own way. Like in the downward dog, I feel like I wanted to lift my leg higher, yeah, before I step forward. Yeah, like that. Whereas before, you're just strictly in downward dog and you step forward. But now, as your body opens, somehow you need to always adjust. I want to always release the hips, and even your hands will not be perfectly aligned. And then somehow you feel the need to do this, yeah, before you step the foot through, like that. Yeah? And then from there, you do your standing and your flow. Yeah, circles, just to break the flow of the energy. Because the energy gets wrapped around the deep joints of our shoulders, our elbows, our knees. Somehow, if you perform circular movements, you allow that energy to flow out. And this is very significant later on, because the inherent flow of energy inside the body is not perfectly to the vertical, it's not perfectly to the horizontal, it spirals. It actually moves like spear inside the body. So it doesn't have a linear direction. Somehow it always wants to move, an uncoordinated movement. It feels restless at the beginning stages of the practice because it's flowing. So allow that energy to flow through your system by really moving. And then here now, you will benefit more on the confidence you've created in the beginning stages with regards to breathing, because you have now to use the breath. Inhale, sustain high, exhale, fall forward. Yeah, so now you take your breath to the next level of awareness, that not just when you're standing you're inhaling, not just when you're folding you exhale. Somehow when you move the body in uncoordinated motion, the breath follows. Actually, your body follows the rhythm of the breath. Yes, it's the other way around. Of course, when externally you're moving the breath, but actually the breath is already now trying to manifest itself, so it moves you instead of you moving the breath. Yeah, so it's really this journey is really very enlightening. Now you will now be able to find your own way of moving. Somehow that's the beauty of self-practice, because when you do it in the class, you can't do this. You can't do all these organic movements, this inherent need for us to move the body in distinct way that it suits our feeling at a particular position. Otherwise, you just follow the teacher when you do your classes, or if you're doing, for example, a little practice, you might be lucky, but not every one of us is as lucky as that. Or if you are able to do workshops, but workshops can be very expensive and it's not regular. Yeah? So when you practice at home, it gives you the freedom to explore what suits you for that particular stage of your physical, your mind, even your mental and spiritual circumstances. And going back, now, when you're now able to perform those combinations of circular movements, and then you perform some leg balancing there, you perform some standing position, and combined with active movements, such as the jumping through, stepping back, now you're now ready to explore the element of arm balancing. Yeah, so still the hips. Yeah, still the hips. You see, although you might think that 1 year is too long just for me to cultivate the hips, is actually too short. Yeah, because the hips will always be part of your practice lifetime. Yeah, because this is where the energy is hidden. So when the hips, you don't allow the hips to harness their full potential, and yes, you won't be able to harness the full potential of your body as well. Yeah, so but still the basic. Now try to explore now basic arm balancing. Yeah, and basic arm balancing, nothing really fancy. Yeah, Bakasana. Yeah, the position of the crow. Yeah, definitely as your hips develop, this one will feel lighter as well. Yeah, so yeah. And then that stage, the fourth quarter of your practice, you will now be able to feel the initial manifestations of your energy locks. But still, you won't be feeling them out well. They will just inherently support you as you do the positions. You feel lighter. You can breathe through it. You can breathe through the elements. And yes, there's already your energy locks, or the bandhas, the organic support inside you, becoming more felt in the practice. They assist you already organically without you knowing that. So that's the first year. Don't explore too much backbend yet. Don't explore complex asanas yet. Because the first year is still building the foundation. And then with it, of course, as you tackle all these physical elements, you might start to add now basic breath regulation. But I don't really suggest you forcing the breath to happen. So just enjoy the natural rhythm of the breath. Just enjoy the power and the physical strength, because the breath will be another dimension, and I don't want you to be rushing the breath, because there's really no point of working the breath unless you're now able to feel at least the Uddiyana Bandha. And I don't want to be discussing the Uddiyana Bandha because we're just focusing on the foundation, but just to give you like a brief overview that the breath should be tackled together with the bandhas becoming more felt already organically at will, because you're going to use the bandhas now to support the inner organs when you do your breath regulation. But a basic breath regulation that you could practice after your physical, just to calm the mind, would be the alternate nostril breathing. And then there you can feel the energy crisscrosses left and right. It's very meditative, it's relaxing, but not too intense like breaths of fire, the retention, no, not yet. The first year, just focus on the basic elements of developing physical strength, hips, legs, some forms of arm balancing to cultivate the strength of the upper back, and some gentle breathing works just to calm the mind and to release the excess energy after the practice. Or when you want to do some separate meditation sessions along the way. Alright, so that's the year of your practice. That's 1 year in a nutshell. Ooh, 1 year is too long, but definitely yes, you might even be needing more. Alright, so enjoy it. Enjoy the elements as long as they serve you, as long as it makes you happy. Yes, stay. Yeah, don't rush. Because the next stages are deeper, and entirely different. That I don't want you to regret that I should have stayed. Because this one is another dimension. Really is another dimension. And as long as a certain element serves you and make you happy, presently, stay. Add the learnings you get from your teachers outside, the workshops that you do, but really keep a home practice. It's meaningful. Yoga for me is really about that. Of developing it on your own. Okay, so see you next time. I hope that.